Hi, this is Sarit Swetzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shner Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 283 for the 5th of Elul and a leap year. So peace and quiet. They're often lumped together, often almost seen as kind of the same thing, right? People say, I'd really just like peace and quiet. If only I could have some peace and quiet. But are they really the same thing? Is peace synonymous with quiet? So in today's episode, we're going to begin to explore the possibility that perhaps they are not. Perhaps there's a very big difference between the two of them. This is going to be one of those episodes where we're left hanging with a question, with a cliffhanger. So we're going to open up the question and not really get it resolved today. So that's hopefully going to keep you guys latched on to continue to listen to future episodes as well. So today we're going to bring up that question. And the way that this question comes up is through a citation that the Alter Rebbe brings from Yeshayahu, which speaks about our favorite topic of this section, namely giving tzedaka, giving charity, where Yeshayahu, the prophet, he refers to tzedaka as being, in a sense, related to peace, and in another sense related to quiet. But yet the wording for those two things is slightly different. So we're going to explore all of that. And it's a pretty short section today. So I think we should just delve right into the text and get started with it. For context, we are going to be beginning a new epistle, Epistle 12. I think I erroneously said yesterday that we were just starting Epistle 11, when in fact we learned the entirety of Epistle 11. So I apologize for that, for any confusion. But today we are indeed going to be just beginning Epistle 12, which is going to go on for a few days. So so the Alter Rebbe begins with this citation from Yeshayahu. What is the citation? It's from Yeshayahu chapter 32, verse 17. It says, "V'haya ma'aseh tzedaka shalom, v'avodat tzedaka hashket v'vetach ad olam," which literally means, it was that the deed of doing tzedaka was peace, and the work of doing tzedaka is quiet and surety forever. Okay, so what does this mean? This is very abstract sounding, very obscure, right? The deed of doing tzedaka is peace, and the work of doing tzedaka is quiet and surety forever. So there seems to be this distinction, and this is exactly what the Alter Rebbe asks. He says we want to understand the difference between the deed of tzedaka, the ma'aseh tzedaka, to the work, to the avoda of tzedaka, and this distinction between shalom, which is peace, and hashket v'vetach, which is quietness and surety. What's the difference here? And he says the way that we're going to understand this, the distinction between these two things, is by actually looking at a teaching of the sages that's based on a pasuk in Iyov, chapter 25, verse 2, where it says, "Oseh shalom b'mo'omav," he who makes peace in high places. So the Midrash teaches about this, that this whole idea of what does it mean that Hashem makes peace in high places, like what is this a reference to? This is this idea that it's actually talking about the angels on high. So we know that two of the most prominent angels in Judaism are Michal, the angel Michael, and Gabriel. And Michal is the prince over water, and Gabriel is the prince over fire. And yet they do not extinguish one another. This is the teaching of the Midrash. So what does this mean? So what is this whole, really obscure sounding imagery about all of this fire and water, all that stuff? So Michael is the prince over water. What is water? Water is often referenced with chesed. So chesed, why is it chesed? Because chesed is called water. Why? Because water goes from a very high place to a very low place. And it's this idea of hashpa'ah, this idea of of giving, of influence and spreading forth of the vitality from the higher worlds to the lower worlds, right? So it's like this whole idea of water. You think of water. Water is very effusive. Water is very like it pours out, it shines forth, and that is a nice imagery for understanding the concept of chesed, which is also like that. Versus fire, when we look at fire, the nature of fire is to rise up above. It goes upwards, right? If you ever look at a bonfire, the flames are moving upwards. So this is associated with the idea of gvura. Why? Because gvura is the idea of removal of the influence of life from below to above, so that it will not be manifest, but rather it's going to become more constricted with a very great intense constriction. And so these are two opposing forces that are totally opposite from one another when they are found in their state of like their ultimate manifestation as attributes. So that's the end of the section. So again, pretty short. So just to recap here, we brought up a question that didn't yet get answered, where we're starting to uncover some layers to it. So we brought up this question as to what is the difference between peace and quiet. What's the difference between the action of giving tzedakah and the avoda of giving tzedakah, the service of giving tzedakah? And the Alter Rebbe taught us that in order to explore this, we have to actually look at this idea of peace above, Hashem making peace above, and what this is referring to, and how the sages taught that this has something to do with the angels above. And when we look at the angels above, the two primary angels are Michal, who is the angel of water, which is associated with chesed because it's very outflowing, like it's expansive in nature, is the nature of chesed. And then we have the other angel, the angel Gavriel, who's associated with Gevura, which is the exact opposite. Gavriel is associated with fire, which is more about withholding, consuming, going upwards, right? Like, so it's there's a withdrawal of the energy. It's an inward kind of focused energy. So it's like extroversion, expansion versus introversion, withdrawal. So these two attributes really do seem to be very contradictory. So that's really the point that the Alter Rebbe wants to bring home today, is just how different these attributes are and different these angels are. And we will continue tomorrow when we begin to explore this further, getting into what it means that God makes peace on high, meaning somehow he makes peace between these opposing forces. So stay tuned for that, and I will speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shoshana. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.